keep their own state choices in the education system, because the Obama administration's Race to the Top program offered $4.35 billion in taxpayer funds to go to the states that adopted these standards. Smaller states like West Virginia that don't have a lot of state income aren't going to be able to turn down such a massive amount of funds to go towards their education system. It's either adopt the standards or tell the West Virginia public that they turned down all this money to improve the education system in the state. The educational guidelines were, in most cases, never voted on by Congress, the Department of Education, or local school boards. Rather, they were signed off on at an executive level just to get the state funds. The standards revolve more around competition among other nations than they do a genuine desire to improve the education in the United States. It's all about raising test scores so the United States students do better on tests compared to students in other countries. Regardless of whether or not teachers can tailor, the standards say that teachers can tailor the lessons plans, these parameters hinder a teacher's ability to teach. It focuses on a flooding of information, because a flooding of information is the only way to raise those ACT test scores. Knowledge of the material is surely essential and important to the educational process, but creativity spawns advancements in science, art, literature, and business. And creativity is spawned in a classroom where a teacher is free to act as they want without having to worry about making sure they hit these certain parameters every year and have to not be able to cover what they think will best suit their students in class. The push should be for states to improve the education system on their own rather than force everyone into these standards. Yes, as Jamie said earlier, the states are going to be able to tailor these Common Core standards to their own liking, but the states should be able to just make their own program, not put this broad set of standards on every state. Unique classes like West Virginia history would fall by the wayside to other initiatives and these standards. If you've got all the focus on college readiness and career readiness, what's going to happen? There's not going to be any room or funding for a class as unique as West Virginia history, an important class for West Virginians to have. States are almost forced to adopt these standards because without the federal funding, their education system would collapse, much of the smaller states would. It creates a lack of interest in education among students. You've got these standards, and teachers are always talking about what they have to do and these standards they have to cover, and honestly, students don't really care that much. Students want to be able to be creative and pursue the things they're interested in. More gifted students are going to be forced into mediocrity because these standards promote educational equity. You're not going to have enough time to bring these other students up because you're trying to get everyone on the same level. A Tennessee student Tennessee adopted the Common Core standards, and Tennessee student spoke at the Tennessee State School Board, and he said, "Somewhere our founding fathers are turning in their graves, pleading, screaming, and trying to tell us that we teach to free minds, we teach to inspire, we teach to equip. Careers will come naturally." The focus is all on college readiness and career readiness, but when you teach someone and instill this thirst for knowledge during the education process, you teach them to search for new information, to pursue the things they're interested in, to become the best they can be at what they do, then these careers are going to come naturally. The college readiness will come naturally. You have to instill this thirst for knowledge, not set these burdening standards on students. The Common Core standards have come about as a result of bureaucratic bribery and have showed a mistrust in teachers' ability to teach. They have set the United States on a course for educational backwardness rather than advancement, and concisely put are in action solely to raise test scores and make the United States look better.
Without the Common Core, 2005 ACT tests show that only 51% of U.S. students are prepared for college readiness in reading. 28% of students entering college needed remediation math, English, and writing skills classes. 6 million secondary students in the U.S. read below grade level, and K-12 literature has trended down in difficulty and complexity in a 50-year span throughout the United States. The core is bringing in the next generation of students through the K-12 standards rather than trending them downward like we have been without. The core goals are based on an I do, you do, we do, so a teacher can demonstrate what they want to see in class, then they give the assignment to the student, and finally it's a collaboration project as with the teacher and student or as a full class. This allows interstate collaboration between states, which is actually less costly and bounces ideas off of each state to stay with what is working best for them specifically, and then can be modified later on. These provide sufficient guidance, clarity to students, teachers, parents, and what educational advisors need to be looking for in their teachers to know that teachers are actually fulfilling their positions. While it creates international competitive students, it's going to create those global jobs to bring America into the students from Canada, Finland, Korea, Japan, all of these high achieving countries, and we're using international benchmarking to track that, not to compete. We want to bring them up to par so they're able to get those jobs. The Common Core provides rigorous knowledge that is applicable to higher knowledge through higher order thinking skills. I thank you for the opportunity to speak on the affirmative of Common Core standards.